Hey everyone, welcome back to Claris's Kitchen. For those who are new to my channel, I create very simple, fun, and gluten-free recipes. Today, I am so excited to share with you now one of my all-time favorite desserts, especially because it's the holidays and it's wrapping up the end of the year. I made an apple spice donut hole recipe that is gluten-free. We're going for the fluffy route, we're not going for the cakey route. I was really inspired by Krispy Kreme donuts when I was able to have that at one point in my life before I became allergic to gluten. And then if you guys have ever traveled to California or live in California, there's this gem of a spot called Cider Donuts, and they make the most amazing gluten-free and vegan donuts you guys have to try. So these are not baked, they're actually fried because I had to add the healthy-ish twist to it, and I added a sweet and tart apple filling, then topping it off with a maple cinnamon glaze. So I made this recipe as simple as it can be. I broke it down into 3 parts. You have the dough, you have the filling, and you have the glaze. And if you're new to my channel, or if you haven't done so already, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe right down below, and turn on those notification bells because I post videos almost every Saturday. So now without further ado, let's begin the recipe. First, we'll start with concentrating the apple cider. In a medium saucepan, add 1 cup apple cider and bring to medium-high heat. Once it starts to bubble, lower the heat to medium-low and simmer for 25 minutes with continuous stirring. Once reduced, the apple cider should coat the back of the spoon. Then pour it into a measuring cup, and it should be about a 1/4 cup, then set aside to cool. Next, we'll be making our dough. In a mixing bowl, add 2½ cups of 101 gluten-free baking flour with xanthan gum included, 3 tablespoons of active dry yeast or 3 packets, ½ teaspoon of salt, and 1½ cups of warm apple cider, which should be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Then mix well with a spatula until the dough starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl. This is a longer technique, so if you have a KitchenAid mixer on you, definitely use that because it will be more time-saving. Cover with a plastic wrap or a clean towel and let it rest in a warm place for 20 minutes. While the dough is resting, let's work simultaneously on our apple filling. Peel 2 big apples or 3 smaller apples like I did here. I usually prefer Honeycrisp and green apples for that tart and sweet taste, but you can also use Fuji apples too. It will just have more of a sweeter taste. Then cut the apples into small bite-sized cubes. You want to make sure they are small enough to add in the center of the donut. In the same saucepan, bring to medium-high heat. Add some coconut oil, apples, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, a ½ teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of gluten-free flour, and my secret ingredient, which is a 4th teaspoon of nutmeg. Then add 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar and 2 tablespoons of apple cider, which I forgot to video this part. Then stir until the apples soften and absorb all that flavorful goodness. Now back to the dough. Take the plastic wrap off and punch or deflate the dough a little with a spatula or your hands. Add 7 tablespoons of coconut sugar, then add the apple cider concentrate we made earlier, which was about 1/4 cup. Then add 1 egg and 2 egg yolks at room temperature, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil, and I mentioned this before in my recipes that melt the coconut oil first, then measure. Make sure the oil is also at room temperature or else you'll cook the eggs, and we don't want to have cooked eggs in our donuts. Mix the dough together and add another cup of gluten-free baking flour in increments until the dough starts to pull away from the bowl. You want it to be sticky enough but also malleable when rolling out the dough. Then cover the dough again with the same plastic wrap we used earlier. Let it rise in the fridge for an hour, and then after an hour, deflate the dough by poking a few times again. Add some flour to your mat or board and rolling pin. If the dough is too sticky, you can always add a little bit more flour. Roll the dough out until it's 1/4 inches thick. Then take a small round cookie cutter or use a small cup and cut out as many donuts as possible. You can also use their scraps too for more donuts. Now it's the fun part. Take the dough and continue to use the flour when necessary if the dough is too sticky. Thin the edges out with your fingers and stretch the circle. Add a little apple filling in the center, then fold in half and press the edges lightly. Then form a ball with your hands, and if there are any gaps you see, add a little dough to fill it in and continue to form a ball shape until the outer part is smooth. This will ensure the filling doesn't come out when frying. You might think the ball is too small, but it will expand once it's fried. Rest the donuts on a lined baking sheet, and once all done, cover with the same plastic wrap we've been using and let it rest for 10 to 20 minutes. This is called the proofing process so the dough can become more elastic. In the meantime, heat up 2 to 3 inches of grapeseed oil or any high heat oil that's naturally flavored and bring to 360 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using a wok, but you can use a medium pot too. You can use a thermometer or use a wooden spoon, and you'll know when the oil is hot enough if the bubbles are forming around the spoon. Then fry 3 to 4 donut holes at a time to ensure that the heat is maintained at 360 degrees. I used 2 wooden utensils and kept turning them around, making sure the dough kept a nice round shape to it. Cook on each side for 30 seconds to a minute long or until golden brown. And before cooking the next batch, make sure the oil comes back to 360 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. Set the donuts on a cooling rack, and for any extra dough that you don't use, store it in a freezer bag like I did here, and you can use that again another time. The glaze we are making consists of 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 3 to 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, and 6 tablespoons of almond milk or any plant-based milk. If the glaze is too thick, you can add another tablespoon of milk. Whisk until well combined. Then coat the donut holes with the glaze and let it rest until the glaze hardens. Doesn't this look amazing? I'm drooling watching this all over again. Guess I need to pull that extra dough in my freezer and start making some more. These are the best when eaten right away or within 4 hours. It can last the next day, but the donuts lose the freshness and fluffier taste. I've already tried. So I hope you guys enjoyed this apple spice donut hole recipe, and if you stayed with me throughout this entire recipe, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe below for more recipes. I also added a blooper at the end, so make sure that you check it out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time in Clarissa's Kitchen. So we got this perfect shot, but it took all of this to make. If you're new to my channel, or if you haven't done so already, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe right down below, and turn on those notification bells because I post videos almost every Saturday. So now without further ado, let's begin the recipe. Yeah. Did it.